AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios.
That's right.
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. AFR, presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Danny Cardenas.
Every time I come around your city, bang, bang. Make it rain, word about 50, bang, bang.
Muso. And Mr. Toby Tom Play. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Ton to get to today. Only guest is going to be Zach Von Rosenberg at 5 o'clock with our LSU fall camp report. Tigers back on the practice field today. They were in Tiger Stadium on Saturday for their first preseason game of fall camp, as Ogeron calls it. So we'll get an update on how practice went today from Zach in hour number 3. Saints also had their first preseason game of the season on Saturday against the Ravens. We'll get to that. Let me start with LSU's scrimmage on Saturday. So obviously college football, their fall camp is drastically different from the NFL's with respect to access. With the NFL, you obviously have open practices. You have preseason games that are televised and everybody can watch, etc. With respect to fall camp, you really only get the morsels that the coaches allow you to have, and whatever access you get for interviews to players or coaches. So I didn't see the scrimmage. I can only react to what we were told and what news has come out about the scrimmage on Saturday. A couple of things. Ed Ogeron did meet with the media after the scrimmage and kind of gave a recap of the day.
Outstanding day, a lot of hard work. We mainly practiced first, second, third down, and red zone. That was the emphasis of the day. It's the first day we tackled. We didn't tackle that much, but we had some live scrimmaging. I thought our defense tackled very well. We put a lot of pressure on the quarterback. Max was 11-19 for 127 yards, 1 TD. Garrett was 11-17 for 225 and 3 TDs. Garrett made some big plays out there, scrambling around, made some big plays. Our young freshman made some big catches, and I thought that overall it was a great scrimmage, mostly dominated by the defense and the quickness of the defensive line. We had Ali Gay back. Joe Evans had a good day. Andre Anthony had a good day. Neil Farrell had a good day. Our guys ran around and played well. We gave up very few big plays with the first team. I thought overall it was a great scrimmage. We got a lot of things to do. We still got a week left. Short yardage goal line. All those things are going in. 2 minute, another week of camp. But we need to make a big improvement, especially in the area of protection.
Need to make a big improvement, especially in the area of protection. That was kind of the big takeaway. For me, anyway. Remember, we don't get to watch the scrimmage, so our insight is from what Ed says and from the people who were there who might whisper things to us about what happened. And also, it's important to remember that the scrimmage is both controlled and situational. So you heard Ed Ogeron say we work first, second, third down, and then red zone. So when you hear Max was 11 of 19 for 127 and a score, you don't think of it in terms of what we are conditioned to think of a 4-quarter football game when you see 11 of 19 for 127. Or with Nussmeier, where he was 11 of 17 for 225 and 3 scores. I mean, what if those 3 scores came in the red zone period? Might have. We don't know. We didn't see it. So statistically, you kind of have to flush it. But when you do hear Ed Ogeron say the defensive line dominated the day, and when he discusses the offense and who stood out and doesn't mention the running backs at all, That's kind of telling of what happened. It was a day where the defensive line dominated. And so there's always this sort of inner conflict when you hear of things like that during a scrimmage. Well, because when it's intra-squad, it's good on good, you go, okay, well, should we be really pumped up about the defensive line having a big day, or should we be concerned about Ed Ogeron and say we got to work on protection? Well, maybe it's just that Ali Gay and Andre Anthony and B.J. Ojolari and those guys are just that good. And they're going to be an elite defensive front, not just in the SEC, but in all of college football. But the other side of it is that your offensive line is going to face some elite fronts across the SEC and across all of college football. So that is a little bit concerning when you think about the offensive line and protection. Now, Ogeron, can you play 11, please? Ogeron did talk a little more about needing to improve protection from the offensive line.
Well, number one, one-on-ones, the techniques that we're using. We're going to go upstairs and watch them. Brad's done a tremendous job. He's only had the guys for, a limited amount of time. We got to make sure that they understand what we're teaching. We got a veteran offensive line, so those guys should be able to protect. We got a lot of young guys that got thrown in the fire today. That sometimes they did well, sometimes they didn't. But there was way too much pressure on the quarterback. So we're going to watch the film and fix it. And those things that hurt us today, we're going to work on all week next week and all week in camp.
I'll still tell you, though, that for me, the more encouraging thing is the defensive line being dominant. LSU allowed 6 yards a carry a year ago. The defensive front seven was not good. None of the defense was good last year. So if you're going to tell me that through a full week of fall camp, the defense is far outpacing the offense. And listen, I know Ed Ogeron a year ago made the comment about the defense is so much further along at any point than a year ago. And I pointed that out, and a lot of other people did as well, about how absurd of a comment that was, and it came back to bite him. But this feels a lot different because we know that the offensive line struggled a year ago, and they've been hyping the defensive line. If the defensive line played better, that makes sense. It's what we would expect. Plus, I've said all offseason, the offense wasn't the problem a year ago. You started 2 true freshman quarterbacks. You had Chase and Marshall and Gilbert all opt out. You had no running game to speak of, and you still averaged over 30 points a game. I don't think the offense is going to be an impediment for this team. The defense just has to get markedly better than they were a year ago, and it sounds like they're on their way. I am interested in the running game because we all know it wasn't there a year ago. Chris Curry is transferred out. Will Ty Davis-Price and John Emery step up? Ty did not participate in the scrimmage on Saturday. He's expected to be back today, so we'll get that report on for Monday. But what about the running backs? How did they do?
I don't have any stats. I thought John ran the ball. John ran the ball well. Corey Connor made a tremendous play, made 2 or 3 people miss, jumped over a defender. The same type of stuff we saw in high school. Armani Goodwin made some good plays, got in the defensive backfield, made some plays. Both of those guys are tremendous players. Obviously, Tyron didn't get much carries. Josh Williams got a couple carries, but mainly it was John and the 2 freshmen.
Freshmen, including, you heard him say, Corey Kiner, who one of the cool pictures that LSU released was Corey Kiner hurdling a defender who went low. Some of those were pretty cool. And actually, if you look at the gallery that LSU released, you can see some people in the stands. And so sometimes select boosters or former players get to go. So some people do get to see these. And so some morsels do come out as they move through. But a couple more from Ed Ogeron after the scrimmage. He did give an update. Did I tell you before? Here was an update on Derek Stingley, who did not play and has been battling a small camp injury.
I said that prematurely, and we thought Derek was going to come back, but I think that we're going to have to give him a little bit more time. Eli Ricks is perhaps going to come back in some capacity next week. I think it's going to take Derek, and this is more a precautionary measure. We don't want to bring him out there when he's not full speed. It may take more than a week, but whatever it is, he's going to be fine. It's just that we want to make sure when he comes back that he doesn't re-injure.
Smart. I mean, there's no reason to. But Ogeron was asked now with Stingley's injury, with Ty Davis-Price missing time. Obviously, you've lost Glenn Logan to a foot injury. We know about Miles Brennan's injury. He was asked just about the number of injuries piling up here in camp so far.
That is a concern. I talked to Bo about it today. I think a lot of it is just the running, all the running. And the guys, although they're not hitting run, they're going full speed, they're working hard. And I think these are all just little camp injuries that's going to get healed. Nothing's major. And, somebody like Glenn broke a foot doing a drill. So and just bending his foot. So some of these things you can't prevent. Some of them are football injuries. But yes, you're right. But the little amount of hitting that we have done, it's an unusual large amount of injuries.
All right, Ed Ogeron again after the scrimmage on Saturday. So they're back on the practice field today, Monday, and then they'll work toward another full-scale scrimmage on Saturday. And then that's, you go through that third week, and then it's just a walkthrough, and then you're into game week for UCLA. Hard to believe, but we are 2 weeks away. We're less than 2 weeks away from week 0 and having actual college football, and you're less than 3 weeks away from the opener of LSU and UCLA. All right, it's after further review. Glad you're aboard with us here. The LSU Tigers had their first scrimmage on Saturday. The Saints had their first preseason game in Baltimore on Saturday evening as well. I want to let you hear some observations from that when we return. It is a Monday edition of AFR presented by Relief Windows. Stay here.
AFR.
If you need to sell your home, you know what to do. Call Darren James and get your home sold. 335-7666. 335-7666 or agent225.com. Every home listed by every company, all in one place, agent225.com. Two things that are so important to tell you. Number one, National Association of Realtors. Number one complaint. Hired my realtor, listed my home, never heard from him again. With Darren James, I guarantee you that will never happen. No realtor does more to keep in touch better with his clients than Darren James. And did you know 73% of people that list their home for sale by owner end up hiring a realtor anyway? Save yourself the time, save yourself the hassle, get to a closing table more quickly, and move on with your life. Call Darren James and get your home sold. 335-7666. 335-7666 or agent225.com. If you need to sell your home, you need Darren James.
Think real estate, think Darren James.
After further review with Matt Moscona, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. Call 288-8138 or visit reliefwindows.com. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
How would you compare Hill versus Winston? I'm not making any comparisons with the quarterbacks right now. It doesn't matter who really with 6 turnovers, right?
Sean Payton in a really tremendous mood after the Saints lose to Baltimore on Saturday. And in the process, as you heard him say there, turn the ball over 6 times. That'll be your undoing every time. But most of the question everybody had was about Jameis Winston and about Taysom Hill and how it went. Taysom got the start in the first preseason game. We know Jameis is going to get the start Monday in the Dome against Jacksonville. And then they'll move forward with Jameis as the starter, as I've told you all along that they will do. And I think that is an inevitability. Both did some nice things. Both threw a pick. Jameis, I thought, led a beautiful 2-minute drive to score before halftime. Now they got the ball right back, and then he threw a pick. Wasn't his fault. It went off little Jordan Humphrey's hands and right into the safety's arms. Similarly, when Sean Payton was asked about Taysom Hill's interception, he explained that that wasn't really necessarily Taysom's fault either.
So we're not on the same page with the receiver and the quarterback, all right? One's running a shallow cross. One's expecting to sit it down. If you get certain looks, you sit it down. Certain looks, you stay on the move. And obviously the two of them weren't on the same page. Bad by both of them. We'll look at it on tape.
Speaking of the tape, Sean Payton did say, though, that despite the loss and despite the 6 turnovers, that he does expect they're going to see some good stuff on film.
I said to these guys, there's some things we're going to like on film. Like, I thought there's some things, I thought we played with some energy. I thought there's a handful of things we're going to like, but it's just going to be overshadowed, though, with those early mistakes. And, you know, despite how you play in the kicking game or defensively or even in snaps offensively, if that's what happens, it kind of just overshadows all of it.
Okay. So, to be very clear, and I am always consistent on this, always, I don't care about the result of a preseason game, the win or the loss, and I genuinely do not care what happens with a player that we know what they are. It's why I don't care that Alvin Kamara Cam Jordan, Marshawn Lattimore, Demario Davis, Ryan Ramchick, Teron Armstead, Marcus Williams. None of them played, and I don't care. Don't care at all. We know what they can do. The preseason is not for those guys. I tell you all the time, like, I'm a preseason junkie because I'm kind of obsessed with who gets roster spots 51, 52, 53. And that's what preseason games are for. You have certain, ideas from watching guys at practice or listening to people talk, and then you get into a preseason game and you see it against someone else, and sometimes guys flash. Like, for example, was anybody last week talking about Eric Burrell? Anybody? We had a different Saints reporter on every day last week, and not once did I ask or did anybody bring up Eric Burrell. Nobody. Undrafted rookie free agent, safety out of Wisconsin, and that dude went and brought bad intentions to the secondary on Saturday. He was frigging awesome. Big hit that forced a fumble that was recovered by Caden Ellis. Like, I think about Eric Burrell, and you start to say, man, look, how does he have a spot here, right? I mean, you got Marcus Williams, you got Malcolm Jenkins. Is there really a spot for that guy? CJ Gardner-Johnson can kind of play, nickel safety. Do you really have a spot for that guy? And then I go, if he plays like that, how do you not have a spot for that guy? I mean, as intimidating a presence as he was in the defensive secondary on Saturday, you almost have to find a spot for that guy. You still got 2 more preseason games and a ways to go, but that's the kind of thing that flashes. Tony Jones was the standout. He was the takeaway from this game. Undrafted out of Notre Dame. He's in his second year in the NFL, and he led New Orleans in rushing. As a matter of fact, their touchdown drive was basically all Tony Jones, that first touchdown drive. I mean, it was incredible. And on the flip side, I mean, his day, as great as it was maybe tarnished a smidge by the third quarter fumble. But I look at who's going to be the third running back on this team. If you know you've got Alvin Kamara and Latavius Murray.
Murray, present.
Who's the number 3? Well, I mean, we've been sitting here talking about Devontae Freeman. Veteran guy, came over from the Falcons. He's been around the league. Could he be that closer? 6 yards on 6 carries, and he fumbled. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Devontae Freeman got cut today. Like, I literally wouldn't be surprised. I'm not saying you overreact to one preseason game, but we've seen Sean Payton throughout his career, throughout his tenure in New Orleans, find diamonds in the rough among undrafted free agent running backs. Chris Ivory, Kyrie Robinson, Travaris Cadet, dudes that not only made the team, but made an impact. Go all the way back to his first year with Pierre Thomas, the PT Cruiser, man. They used a 4th-round pick on Antonio Pittman out of Ohio State, cut him, kept the undrafted kid from Illinois. Became one of the best running backs in Saints history. So I'm bullish at this point on Tony Jones as your number 3. Give me the young legs. He caught every target. So one thing you have to be able to do in Sean Payton's offense, if you're running back, catch the ball. He caught every ball they threw to him. He was awesome, man. I'll give a shout-out to a local guy, Will Clapp. Will Clapp played more snaps on the offensive line than any other player on Saturday. And he played center and guard. And the reason that's so impactful is, look, Eric McCoy started, and you know Eric McCoy is your starting center, but there is this question, if McCoy goes out, do you slide Cesar Ruiz over and then put somebody else in at guard? Heaven forbid that happened, but if it did, or could Will Clapp potentially be that guy? Like James Hurst, that was a blast in the past. James Hurst started the game for the Saints at tackle, and I got to believe he's got a spot locked up as your swing tackle. And considering Will Clapp, the amount of snaps he played at guard and center, he's your next guy there. I think at this point, Will Clapp is I'm not going to say he's a certainty. I mean, the guy's fighting for a roster spot every year, but Will is certainly the leader at this point to have a roster spot as your interior guy to play both guard and tackle. Remember, Cam Tom was a guy they really liked a lot, and he battled some injuries, and now he's in Miami. I mean, Will Clapp seems like he's going to be that guy after a really a not great preseason a couple of years ago. But Tony Jones, Will Clapp, Eric Burrell were three guys that really flashed for me as guys that are fighting for a roster spot. Now, there's a lot of other observations from the game. Although Jameis Winston's 2-minute drill was fantastic, slinging the ball certainly showed you what he could be. But the quarterbacks, to me, aren't. I know that's the storyline everybody wants to talk about and will talk about, but for me, that's not the storyline that interests me, because I feel that there is an inevitability there with how this is going to go. The biggest storyline of the game for me were players that on Friday, when we sat here and said, all right, here's what we're watching for, let's see how these guys do, that all showed up in a big way. I told you Marquez Callaway. Could Marquez Callaway be a number one wide receiver in the NFL? Mike Thomas is out. Traquan Smith isn't there. Deontay Harris is likely going to miss the first couple of games due to suspension. Could Marquez Callaway step up and be the number one when everybody knows he's the primary target? Opening drive of the game, caught 3 passes for 61 yards on the opening drive, including conversions on 3rd and 9 and 3rd and 7. I'd say he passed that test. Marquez Callaway looked awesome on Saturday. On the other side of the ball, how can we talk about anybody other than Zach Bond? And I'm not overreacting to a preseason game, y'all. But what I am doing is saying, okay, I know Demario Davis and Quan Alexander are your starters at inside backer. And I also know that Zach Bond, a year ago, was completely lost. He was an edge rusher at Wisconsin. And he came in, and they tried to play him in the middle, and he wasn't ready to do that. He was an edge guy. And so he really didn't have a spot a year ago. So there was a learning curve for Zach Bond. With Demario Davis not playing and Quan Alexander same, and then with having a spot there at linebacker, with those guys not there, he took the start and led the team in tackles. He had 6 solo tackles. He was all over the field. Pressures. He was in Trace McSorley's face all night. Like, you couldn't watch the Saints defensively without noticing Zach Bond. And Pete Werner, the rookie draft pick out of Ohio State, wasn't there as well. It was a wide open door for Zach Bond, and he kicked the door off its hinges. That's really encouraging. I'm not telling you he's ready to be a starting player, because the whole thing defensively could have looked differently if Lamar Jackson is playing, right? I mean, we all understand that. But similarly, the Saints didn't bring half of its defense as well. So you look for guys that made impact plays in that setting, and Zach Bond was among them. I also talked about on Friday, Marcus Davenport. When you look at the domino effect of what's happened this offseason in losing Trey Hendrickson to Cincinnati and understanding that Peyton Turner's probably going to have to play some tackle, you need Marcus Davenport to play like a first-round pick, like a guy you invested so many resources into. They couldn't block him. He had 5 pressures on Saturday. There was not a lineman on Baltimore's team that could slow down 92 the entire time. If that cat stays healthy, there's reason to be optimistic about him. Opposite Cam Jordan. Carl Granderson played a ton. The Saints' defensive line was absolutely incredible. And we came out, or we're going into this preseason game. We talked so much about their need to supplement at outside corner, and on the defensive line. I don't feel so nervous about the defensive line anymore. Now, maybe that's foolhardy considering we just saw a preseason game, but I think you've got a ton of talent on the ends, and we didn't even see Cam Jordan in there or Peyton Turner, who will obviously add to your rotation. But you saw guys like Malcolm Roach and Shai Tuttle play pretty well. You're really going to miss David Onyemata. There's no question. He just was obviously on a different level, and he stayed out there most of the game. As a matter of fact, Sean Payton, after the game, kind of talked about why they played Onyemata so deep into the ball game.
Yeah, we're going to play him, though. You're not just going to sit him right now, and then he's going to play like, I think we've had this before, a player who's going to begin a suspension when the season starts. Those guys are still going to be in football shape, and particularly when there's some other guys that are out.
So Onyemata was out there, so expect him to play a bunch here in this preseason. But the other thing that really tells you is because you saw 3 down lineman looks and Onyemata kicked out to end, that kind of tells you what they're thinking as well. Don't be surprised if you see some of those guys kick out in those types of scenarios, which is exactly what I was talking about with Peyton Turner. They're going to use him as a versatile piece. So you're starting to see some of that to see how it looked. I came out, again, not so interested at all in the result of the game. The turnovers sucked, and it was tough to watch, no doubt. It was the first preseason game. I remember there was one year where the Saints played the Titans in a preseason game, and they set a record with something like 21 penalties or something like that. It was nauseating to watch. But you look at how did players individually look? Did they look like they were up to speed? And the other guy I'll tell you is Paulson Adebo. And there's going to be a lot on that kid's shoulders. And I don't mean to call him a kid, but that was a third round pick that you used on Paulson Adebo out of Stanford. And with Marshawn Lattimore not out there, and obviously you don't really have another outside corner. I mean, Ken Crowley's playing there a little, and you just had P-Rob retire. Paulson Adebo did not look out of place. Again, so many times you talk to NFL guys, and they'll tell you, well, there's 3 different speeds. There's preseason speed, there's regular season speed, and then there's playoff speed. And it just ratchets up in intensity. So this was the first preseason game. I'm not saying it's the Super Bowl, but you saw the contrast when Prince Amukamara was obviously playing in quicksand. He just wasn't, even at preseason speed, wasn't competent, which is why they cut him today. But Paulson Adebo cleared that first hurdle. I'm not telling you he's a first hurdle to Canton, but to being a guy that could play as a rookie on the outside, I think you feel much better about that today than you did Saturday at 5:59 p.m. Central Time. So the Saints lose to the Ravens. The next time out for the preseason will be Monday, a week from today, Monday in the Dome against Jacksonville. We'll see Jameis get his first start. We'll see what steps they take week 1 to week 2 in this preseason, but a lot to like as the Saints check some boxes and answered some questions that we had, at least started the process of answering some of those questions that we had into preseason going into this first regular season without Drew Brees since 2005. Okay, it's After Further Review brought to you by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Windows, doors, siding, Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Let me knock out, quick break, we'll go around the SEC. A ton still to get to. What a weekend we had. Learn about this prospective College Football Alliance. I mentioned the Saints have already gotten busy with their cuts. By 3 o'clock Central Time tomorrow, they got to be from 90 to 85. They've already cut 2 players, 3 more to go between now and tomorrow at 3 o'clock Central. Zach Von Rosenberg at 5 o'clock with our LSU Fall Camp Report. We got a ton to do, and glad to have you hanging out with us here. Stick around. It's AFR.
AFR.
Man, the crew from Pinnacle Exterior Construction was at my house Saturday at 7 a.m., and they put in a long day. 7A to 7P, but they got it done. They built the brick encasement for our outdoor kitchen. Only thing left to do, countertops, put the appliances in, we're ready to roll. But even more impressive, is even after the crew was done building the encasement, they stayed and cleaned up because they didn't treat it like a job site. They treated it like my home, like someone lived there. Even the project manager came by near the end of the day and stayed after the crew and was in the encasement, like vacuuming up debris just to make it sweeping. They even hosed off our driveway, like to make it look as clean as they possibly could. Pinnacle Exterior Construction. Great company, beautiful pools and outdoor kitchens, fences, deck, bulkheads, and great service as well. That's Pinnacle Exterior Construction.
After Further Review with Matt Moscona, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. Call 288-8138 or visit ReliefWindows.com. ESPN Baton Rouge, New Orleans, Alexandria.
So Gainesville kind of sucks. I'm not taking a shot. It's just when you think about great destinations in the SEC, I mean, everybody knows Nashville is the best city in the Southeastern Conference. Georgia's the best college town. Oxford is quaint. Baton Rouge, you can always find a good meal and a cold beer, a great cocktail. Gainesville's got the purple porpoise, and it just kind of sucks. Look, going to a game at the Swamp, and the venue is big and loud, and the Gators are usually really good and all that. Let's just be real. I mean, Gainesville as a town just isn't really great. You don't think, I can't wait to get to Gainesville to do X. Like, a lot of people from outside the SEC may love to come to Baton Rouge because they say, like, I can't wait to go to Rufino's or something like that. Gainesville just doesn't have that, or didn't have that, and I think they do now. Steve Spurrier has opened a new restaurant. And yes, there was a long line of celebrities that have opened restaurants that have failed, but Spurrier's Gridiron Grill is now open. But the interesting thing about Spurrier's Gridiron Grill is that it's not only just a restaurant themed with a lot of Spurrier isms and player. Like, for example, there's the Ike Hilliard Catch of the Day. There's the drink menu has the Citrus 75 with the U and the T capitalized, because you can't spell citrus without UT. Come on, man, that's good. The 52-20 Pale Ale, score the first national title. Come on.
It's clever. It's clever.
Okay.
I like it.
But the other thing about it is it doubles as Spurrier's personal memorabilia collection. Apparently, his family, he had taken all of his memorabilia for years and years and years and just dumped it into closets at his home, at his beach house, jerseys, cleats, his trophies, like all of this stuff that he's had, he just dumped them into closets, and his family pushed him to display it. So he met with a lot of businesses that had opened up other celebrity restaurants, and said, okay, what worked, what didn't, yada, yada, to go through. And then they put all of his stuff on display. Like his Heisman Trophy is there, a la Billy Cannon and TJ Ribbs. He's got every single championship ring that he's ever won. There's a helmet from every team he ever coached or was a part of as a player, as a coach, from Florida to the Washington Redskins to the team, to the Alliance of American Football. Look, there's a photo of it right there with a helmet of, a photo of all the helmets that he was ever a part of. It's conceptually really, really cool. Jerseys, cleats. I mean, it basically is a Steve Spurrier museum where his legacy will be able to be carried on. People go there. And that's a super cool novelty, I think, in Gainesville. For the first time, there's actually something that I'll say, man, I'm looking forward to LSU playing in Gainesville again so I can go check out Spurrier's restaurant and go look at all his stuff. They even took sketches of his plays, like his playbooks, and turned it into wallpaper for the bathroom. I mean, there's a lot of really novel stuff there, and I applaud him. I mean, I don't know if the food's going to be any good. I don't know if the service is going to be any good. There's a lot of places where you draw people in because the name and everything else fell short of its location or whatever, reasons that restaurants fail. But this is one that may actually make it and is a really cool idea. The Dan Mullen and Mike White coaches shows are going to be there. There's a podcast studio as well inside the restaurant for people who want to come do shows there and record podcasts. There's a lot of really good stuff working right there. Kudos to all of them involved. All right, it's After Further Review. We're brought to you by South Point Volkswagen and SouthPointVW.com. New and certified pre-owned in Baton Rouge and online at SouthPointVW.com. SouthPointVW.com, where you'll find the ID4, the first ever electric SUV for everyone. It's the ID4 from Volkswagen. It is the winner of the 2021 World Car of the Year, and you can find it right now or test drive it today at South Point Volkswagen, Louisiana's largest volume Volkswagen dealer, airline just north of Highland, or online at SouthPointVW.com. South Point Volkswagen, what's your direction? Okay, we do it every day about this time. Let's go around the SEC.
Around the SEC, presented by Gulf Coast Office Products, excellence in imaging solutions. The Georgia Bulldogs.
You probably heard by now that transfer tight end Eric Gilbert not currently practicing with the Georgia football team. Kirby Smart said he's dealing with personal issues that we know very well. Gilbert had missed practice leading up to Saturday's scrimmage. Kirby Smart did say, though, they hope to get him back soon.
The Kentucky Wildcats.
Mark Stoops is named Will Levis, the team's starting quarterback. Levis transferred to Kentucky this offseason after playing 3 seasons at Penn State as both quarterback and running back. Levis played in 8 games last season with 1 start. He beat out Auburn transfer Joey Gatewood, who has now told Mark Stoops that he's transferring out of Kentucky. Wildcats open up the season at home against ULM September the 4th.
The South Carolina Gamecocks.
Carolina's starting quarterback, Luke Doty, he suffered a sprained ankle. He's questionable to play in the season opener against Eastern Illinois. Doty's a sophomore, started the final 2 games for South Carolina last season. Shane Beamer named Doty the starter in the spring. So with Doty out, that means Carolina will turn to either Colton Gauthier or Jason Brown to start the season.
The Arkansas Razorbacks.
4-star tight end Jaden Ham has committed to the Hogs. 6'6", 225, the second verbal commit for the class of 2023. Ham chose Arkansas over Michigan, Penn State, Oklahoma State, Missouri, Nebraska, a whole bunch of other teams that aren't very good as well. Number 259 overall in the country, 17 among tight ends.
The Florida Gators.
3-star linebacker E.J. Lightsey has committed to the Gators, doing so on Monday. He becomes the 12th commit for the class of 2022. 6'2", 210, ranked number 426 nationally, the 44th best linebacker in the country. He chose Florida over Georgia Tech, Arizona State, Arkansas, and Auburn.
The Missouri Tigers.
And 3-star athlete Xavier Simmons from Greensboro flipped his commitment from Virginia Tech to Mizzou. He's the number 358 overall prospect, the 12th best player in the state of North Carolina, the 39th best linebacker in the country, which means Missouri has a higher rated linebacker commit than Florida. Weird. All right, there you have it. That is Around the SEC presented by Gulf Coast Office Products. Shout out to our guy Trey Beal and our friends at Gulf Coast Office Products online at gcopnet.com, gcopnet.com for Gulf Coast Office Products. Face-to-face sales, service after the sale. Baton Rouge, New Orleans, North Shore, Lafayette. It's Gulf Coast Office Products, the official office equipment provider of the LSU Tigers, the New Orleans Saints, and the New Orleans Pelicans. All right, y'all, let me grab a quick break. I want to come back, and I do have a follow-up thought on Eric Gilbert, who's not currently with the Georgia football team. We'll do that to wrap up hour number 1, brought to you by Relief Windows. That's next. It's AFR.
AFR.
Oh, it's Monday. Well, you probably know that. I mean, you're at work, and I'm assuming you just generally have a calendar and know the days of the week. But Mondays at Pluckers are all-you-can-eat wings. So Mondays are an amazing time to get by Pluckers because all-you-can-eat wings is exactly what it sounds like. You can eat all the wings you want, as many of them as your stomach can tolerate for one low price. Pay one price, eat as many wings as you want at Pluckers. Nicholson or Bluebonnet. Remember, at Pluckers, you can now order online. So you can't do the all-you-can-eat thing if you order online. But you can order online right now for either location, Nicholson or Bluebonnet, if you want to pick up your order to go. And they're also available on Uber Eats and DoorDash, so you can have your Pluckers delivered to you as well, no matter what part of Baton Rouge you're in. Award-winning jumbo chicken wings, ice-cold draft beer, full-service bar and sports on TV. It's Pluckers, where if you don't like our wings, we'll give you the bird. We love him. We're praying for him. Medical staff dealing with these issues. Like, are you starting to piece it together a little bit here? I mean, I'm not going to blurt it out because it's not my place to talk about this openly. But the reason that I keep talking about this in any way is because a lot of adults keep crapping on a kid who's dealing with something very, very sincere and obviously serious. As his mother came from Georgia to Baton Rouge, not because his body hurt, y'all. And then he committed to Florida and then decommitted and went to Georgia. And now he's not with Georgia. Like, you can see the pattern of behavior. There is an issue there. Sometimes things are way bigger than running and catching passes, especially for a college kid. Like, my sincere hope for Eric Gilbert is that he is able to just live as happy, a normal, functioning life as he possibly can, whether it involves football or not, because clearly there's a lot that he and his family are trying to deal with. Trying to tell you all that a year ago, or whenever that was, December. And some of y'all just hemmed and hawed and talked about synthetic marijuana and how the kid was a quitter. And I heard all of you. And I tried to tell you then that you were wrong and that you needed to grow up. And now you're seeing it still transpire, and it's not about synthetic marijuana. It's not about the kid being a quitter or his body hurting. There's more there. Realize he's 19 years old and go be an adult. Shoot, his teammates acting like an adult. You saw what JT Daniels was doing? Darren Ravel tweeted out that JT Daniels has an NIL deal with a trading card company that could end up being worth 7 figures. Now, JT Daniels was asked about it, and he said he will split whatever money he makes with his teammates. How about that? Here was the tweet from Darren Ravel. Says, Georgia quarterback JT Daniels signed a 6-month exclusive NIL trading deal that pays him $100 per signature. ESM, which is repping him, says 50% of royalties on signed and unsigned cards could reach 7 figures. He players share half his earnings with his teammates. That's the kind of deal that the super elite athlete can capitalize on. That's what Matt Corral has done. That's what Bryce Young has done. It's not that you're going to see players get... You may see the DJ Uiagalelei Dr. Pepper deal, rarely, but the ones that are going to make money is stuff like that. It's going to be from the memorabilia, the trading cards, the autographs, because then those memorabilia companies are betting on the upside. They're saying if JT Daniels blows up, becomes a top 5 pick and a Heisman Trophy winner, then all of the autographed memorabilia that we paid him $100 for, we can flip and sell for $500, $1,000, whatever. So they're betting on the upside. You do that with a handful of athletes that you think could be really good. Well, one of them hits, boom, you make your money back. Interesting stuff. All right. It's After Further Review, brought to you by Relief Windows. Glad to have you hanging out with us here. We'll knock out a quick break. Do want to get back to some Saints stuff in about 35 minutes. They've already made a couple of roster cuts. When we come back, though, a college football alliance. This was floated over the weekend. It's been reported over the weekend that the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Pac-12 have considered an alliance to combat the SEC. What might it look like? What does it all mean, short and long term? We'll get to all of that coming up right after SportsCenter. Stay here. Hour 2 of AFR is next.
AFR.
Love telling you about GMFS Mortgage because it's not every day that you can change your life. GMFSmortgage.com. GMFSmortgage.com. Changing lives. What they mean by that is changing your life financially. And GMFS Mortgage does that every day and has done that for 22 years. Home buy, refi, construction loans. You want to buy that home of your dream? Want to realize the American dream of home ownership? GMFS Mortgage makes that happen. Erica and I, when we got married, bought our first home, bought with GMFS. When Drew came along and we needed a little bit more size, bought our second home, we financed with GMFS. When rates dropped, just like I've been telling you for months and months and months, and how it was a great time to refinance, Erica and I, around the first of the year, refinanced. We closed in February with GMFS. They're my personal lender. They can be yours as well, all over the state of Louisiana. More than $17 billion in loans closed. GMFS Mortgage. Changing lives.